I first want to welcome, Janie. Is that correct?
Yes, Jeannie.
Jeannie. Okay, I'm sorry. My mind. And Gracie with us with Let Your Voice Be Heard. And Gracie's going to tell us a little bit about our history, but first I'm going to say a little prayer before we start. Father, because we reverence and worship you, we have the assurance of your word that the angel of the Lord encamps around about us and delivers us from every evil work. No evil shall befall us, no plague or calamity shall come near our dwelling. We confess the word of God abides in us and delivers us to perfect soundness of mind, wholeness in body and spirit, from the deepest parts of our nature and our immortal spirit, even in the joints and marrow of our bones, that the word is medication and life to our flesh, and for the law of the spirit of the life operates in us and makes us free from the law of the sin and death. We have on the whole armor of God and the shield of faith, and protects us from the fiery darts of the wicked. Jesus is in the highest priest of our confession, and hold fast to the confession of faith in our word. We stand immobile and fixed in full assurance that we have health and healing now in the same, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Donna Griner's one conference.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, who am I speaking to?
My name is Donna Griner.
Hi, Donna. How are you?
Hi. Okay, how are you?
I'm fine.
Who am I speaking to?
This is Maria, and the call is being recorded. We also have Jeannie and Gracie with us, and
Hi.
we were just getting ready to start her show. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay. Me now or during the show?
Oh, during the show. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Gracie. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so Gracie, we're going to go ahead and start with you to talk a little bit about your history with your illness.
Okay, wonderful. First of all, Maria, thank you for having me on the call, and to our callers that are already on the line and anybody that may be listening afterwards, I want to thank you for joining us as well. I appreciate you for tuning in. So my name is Gracie. Gean is my middle name. Those of you that know me from Facebook, Gracie Gean. Gean is my middle name. I have a hyphenated last name, Gracie Young. I just got married in May. I injured both of my wrists. Thank you for that. I never thought I'd get married again, but I got a great guy, so I just got married in May. He found me when I was sick, and who doesn't love a man that falls in love with a woman that has RSD?
That's right.
So he's really great.
Most of them
He knew me. Right, he met me when I was sick, and he said that he loved my courage and my strength, and yeah, like I said, you have to love a man that can appreciate those qualities. So I injured both of my wrists about 7.5 or 8 years ago. I can't really remember right now. Kickboxing, and
Hello?
someone just joined us.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, it's Jane.
Hi, Jane. I just want to let you know that we've started, and we are recording, and we have Jeannie, Donna, and Gracie with us.
Okay. Hi.
Feel free to ask any
Hi.
questions during Gracie's show.
Okay. Okay, so I injured my wrist kickboxing, and I had to have a series of surgeries on both of my wrists. And during one of the surgeries, the anesthesiologist made a little mistake when he was doing the pre-surgical nerve block in my shoulder to deaden my arm for the surgery. And he damaged my median and my radial nerves going from my shoulder to my hand on my right side. And that's what triggered the RSD. So I've been battling CRPS for 6 years. It was just 6 years on June 15th. I celebrate those kinds of things. I celebrate those anniversaries as milestones of survival and courage and bravery.
Absolutely.
So we just had a 6-year celebration. Yeah, 6 years of celebrations. And ever since then, I didn't know anybody that had this disease. I'd never heard of it. And when I heard the word incurable, that hit me really, really hard. I was an electronic engineer by trade, which really is a big fancy word for nerd. So I dove into my computer and started researching, and I started looking for other people like me, and that led me to social media. And so I started collecting those people, in support groups. And that's how we got to where we are. I guess it's a really, a short version to how I got to where I am. But I started trying one treatment after another because I'm a really feisty redhead, and I was bound and determined to beat this. Now, I didn't know any better. I thought, incurable? No way. In today's technology, we're going to beat this. So I started trying. I started with the easy treatments, the creams and the gels and all those things that don't really work. And slowly progressed through one treatment after another. And when I ran out of all the mainstream treatments, and I blogged about all this in these support groups. I took pictures, I took videos. I used my support groups as a journal and told everybody how I was doing and how I was feeling, and used that it was helping me to do that. And then as I ran out of these mainstream treatments, I started looking for the heftier treatments, the harder treatments. Again, taking pictures and videos, and I have great insurance. So a lot of people didn't necessarily have access to those treatments. And I thought, well, hey, I'm kind of doing these people a service because not everybody can try these. So I was sharing. And then I started looking for alternative treatments, and I started battling the insurance company to cover those as I went. And sometimes I would win. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. Little small victories. And a lot of those treatments didn't necessarily work either, but I'd make little progresses as I went. And then I guess people shared my name here and there as I beat the insurance companies. I don't know. I don't really know. How things got so big, but I stumbled upon treatments here and there that did help me. And they don't help everyone. Nothing does.
Like what kind of treatments helped you? I didn't know if you said that yet or not.
No, I didn't. I don't want to make it too commercially, but for a long
without
time...
Without mentioning any doctors or anything, what kind of treatments did you feel helped you, though?
Okay, sure.
Or companies,
Sure. Sure, so, the things that didn't, I guess, to start with, you probably all know the things that don't, but, I went through the creams and the gels and the steroids and all kinds of drugs. And I did a stellate ganglion block. That was very scary to me. And I did a lidocaine infusion. That was pretty scary. And that actually did kind of help me, but only for about 2 weeks. And I thought that was a very invasive process to have to go through every 2 weeks for the rest of my life. Right now I'm 41, but I still say 29. And then I moved on to, I refused the SCS. I thought that, I understand that helps a lot of people, but after weighing the risk...
I'm sorry, what did you just say you did?
I refused the spinal cord stimulator.
Oh, right, okay. Thank you.
That was suggested to me. I was a good candidate for that, and it does help a lot of people. A lot of people have given really great feedback on that, but after weighing the risks and benefits, I just decided that wasn't for me. I chose not to do that. And I had cortisone shots and, things like that. So then I moved on to Calmar therapy. And Calmar therapy, are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah. I am from my support group,
I'm interested in that.
I did that for 2 years. It worked really well for me. And it was the best I could find at the time.
Did you go to Rutherford, New Jersey for that, or?
It's actually all over the country.
Oh,
I did it right in Chicago. It was only 3 hours from my house. So you can find a clinic for that all over the country. And it worked really well to scramble that pain signal. But I needed to keep going.
Grace?
Like every... Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just wondering, when you're talking about treatments and that, I know that we mentioned drugs and that too, that you tried all kinds of drugs, but did you turn to any holistic healing that you found that might help? Because I know that sometimes insurance doesn't pay for certain medicines, and maybe there might be something that we could try that might help us. I know changing diet and so forth, but is there anything in particular that you've found that works for you?
Now I do. I soak in Epsom salt baths with lavender.
Mm-hmm.
I take palmfuls of vitamins every day.
Mm-hmm.
I take fish oil.
Mm-hmm.
I take folic acid.
Mm-hmm.
I take vitamin C, of course. I think everybody should be on vitamin C.
Mm-hmm.
I take vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
I take turmeric.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that's very, very beneficial, turmeric.
The turmeric?
Yeah, it acts as anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, they kind of cook with it, but I think it's hard to get enough in your diet if you're cooking with it. I think that you need to maybe
You have to like the taste of it. I've tried it.
Well, you can start yourself off with just a little tiny bit, and then as you progress, go up further, and eventually you'll find that your taste buds will adjust. I know it's hard, but if you just take just a tiny bit and then increase it to what you want to use, then you might be able to deal with that. I know that.
I'm not a doctor, and I have no medical training at all. I'm not a doctor, and I don't have any medical training at all, so I think it's hard to know what the right answers are.
I'm still back to where you went for a couple of years on Calamar.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Calamar, you were talking about
still back there.
Where you were talking about getting the Calamar for a couple of years, and it was helping.
Yeah, I did. It was, but it scrambled the pain signal. It tricks your brain into thinking that you're not in pain. And it takes a lot of treatments to get you there. And I got my insurance to pay for that. I had to fight them a little bit, but I got them to pay for that. So that was nice. But I still had to pay for my gas and my hotel, and my food to get there. And you had to keep going, every so often, every 10 weeks or whatever. But it didn't take care of the other symptoms. I didn't hear you.
That's very similar to the spinal cord stimulation. It scrambles the signal to the brain, to the spinal cord, except that it is non-invasive. That's the benefit to the Calamar, is it's non-invasive, where a spinal cord stimulation therapy is invasive, obviously, because you have to operate it to have it implanted. But it's based on a very similar,
It's a similar theory, but it works on a different premise in that the Calamar goes through the nerves. It works through the nerves, and the spinal cord stimulator works, obviously through the spinal cord. But I guess similar but different. There's a lot of technical features that are different, but on a very simple level, I guess you have the right idea. Yeah. But the thing is, yes, they both will take care of that pain signal, but neither will take care of the other symptoms.
Right.
And so I was very happy with it for a very long time because it was the best you could find. And then I accidentally stumbled upon a different treatment, and so I moved on to a different treatment, and that's the one that I used from that point until this past April. And that treatment was called a combination therapy, and that was ketamine combined with transcranial magnetic stimulation. They combined the two simultaneously. I used that one for about 6 months, and that one actually pushed me into a state of remission.
And what's that? Ketamine with what, hon? I didn't hear the second part.
It's TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Okay, I've heard of that.
You mentioned remission, and that's one of the questions that somebody wanted to ask on the site, Gracie, to you is they wanted to know how remission came about, how long did it take for you to go into remission?
Well, a lot of people ask me that because I think they're wanting like a guideline of how many treatments or whatever it would take for them. So I'm going to answer the question and tell them I had 36. But I want to put a little disclaimer in there that I don't think anybody can use that number as a guideline as to how many they would have, because every single person is completely different.
Right.
So I went to that clinic. I had CRPS. I had heavy metal poisoning. I had Lyme disease. I have Raynaud's. I wasn't on any medication. I have a very, very low tolerance. I didn't have any depression, and I had no comorbidities. I am a unique individual. So the next person that comes in may have a completely different set of parameters and may need way less or way more.
Absolutely.
So just because the next person walks in has RSD, that doesn't mean that the number for them is going to be anywhere near the same number for me.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
I do.
They may not have Lyme, or they may be on a lot of narcotics. There may be all kinds of other things that formulate into that. So I get a little nervous when people say how many treatments, because there's so many factors that play into there. And the other thing is, what works for one person with RSD may not work at all for the next person with
Absolutely.
RSD.
Absolutely.
Well, then maybe just want to ask you how many treatments you had to put you to remission, not necessarily something that was a fix for everybody, but how many treatments you have.
That's right, I understand. So I always answer the question, but I always like to throw that little disclaimer in.
That's good. I like that.
I know that.
I don't want anybody getting me hope that that's the number they will need.
I know that
some people need far less.
Right. I know that you mentioned depression, that you were a unique case, and that is a unique case that you did not have to deal with depression, because so many people with CRPS have to deal with depression.
Yes, 95%
in general.
But that doesn't mean that you don't have knowledge about it or what you would suggest for someone. I'm sure that I know you do a lot of research and things, and try to help others, and which is wonderful. I really appreciate you. The courage and strength you have. What would you suggest for someone that is in depression, where maybe they could get some help or find some tools to use to help them? And it might help them, as you said. What helps one may not help another.
Do you mean as far as treatments or as for support?
Either.
Okay. Well, for support, my first advice always is going to be a professional. So seek out a counselor or a therapist. In addition to that, I would say the social support and the support groups. But my number one recommendation is always going to be a professional. If you are clinically depressed, definitely seek out a professional. In addition to that, I think that peer support is a fantastic thing to have, because I think that the patient experience is something that professionals don't necessarily have any experience with. The doctors can help you with doctor-type things, but the patient experience is something that they don't know anything about. So peer support in the support group.
You're fading away from me.
What?
There you go.
I have a question about the treatment. The treatment of the ketamine and the transcranial magnetic stimulation. Now, in January of 2014, I did an in-hospital ketamine treatment for 4 days, and then I followed that up with every 2 weeks with 2-day boosters. And because of, it didn't help me. And so there was several things happened, and I was offered another stay in the hospital. And I mean, we had to pay for it. It was very expensive. Insurance did not cover it. And I went in for a second time for the ketamine, and they gave me a higher dose that time. And I went home, and I was very sick from it, and I had, my face was swollen up, and my eyes were swollen up, and I don't know that I had an overdose. Now, my thing was it, I think to myself, because I know ketamine has helped so many people, and that's why we put out so much. It was a very costly treatment for us. But my thing was it possible that it wasn't administered right, or was it because it wasn't in conjunction with maybe
actually,
you had the transcranial magnetic stimulation?
Answer your question in that ketamine sometimes causes, is a side effect of ketamine when your eyes and your face and that swell up. That's one of the side effects sometimes that happens with using ketamine. Can't really say if they really gave you too much high of a dose. I wasn't, I don't know. Everybody acts different on it. I do ketamine all the time. And I know that sometimes there's different reactions that I get from ketamine, but one of the things that does always happen is my eyes and my face swell up a little bit. The eyelids and stuff are a little puffy, and then I have sometimes problems sleeping for the next couple of days. But again, what happens with one person on one drug may be different. Everybody has a different reaction to it.
Sounds like an allergic reaction in a way.
Gracie, did you have that in the hospital, or did you have outpatient ketamine treatment?
I did.
Along with that.
So the ketamine with TMS treatment doesn't have to be done in a hospital. It's done in a clinic setting. It's a completely different treatment than just regular ketamine, IV ketamine infusions. The treatment's only 1 hour, and they can do that because when they're administered simultaneously, they have a synergistic effect on each other. One makes the other one more effective, and it allows them to use a lesser amount of the drug. And so to answer your question, no, I never had any reaction like that, and I've never seen anyone else have a reaction like that. So I don't know if it was administered improperly, and even if I were there, I still wouldn't know if it was administered improperly because I don't have any medical training. I don't know if maybe you had an allergy. I've never heard of an allergy to ketamine. I don't know.
Well, the first time I didn't have that reaction, but I was in a lot of pain leaving the hospital, and I didn't get any relief from my RSD from it. But I went ahead and went back and had the 2 boosters. Now, as I said, we were paying for this. We paid $17,000 for this. And the thing of it is, because of some of the things that happened at the hospital, that they said I should have been kept quiet in a restful state, and I wasn't.
Oh, definitely.
I was allowed to have company. They turned the TV on. They put me in a wheelchair and rolled me downstairs and took X-rays. And I was not in a restful state. So that's why I think they agreed to redo my hospital stay. Well, the next time, they really put me under with ketamine. I couldn't even stand up to go to the bathroom. I had to have somebody lift me out of the bed and pull my pants down. I was sedated. And when I came out of that one is when I had the swelling. But my thing was, okay, so I had kind of said to myself, well, ketamine doesn't work for me, although it helps so many people. But then I'm wondering, what you're talking about, Gracie, sounds like a much lighter dose, and then adding this transcranial magnetic stimulation. I'm wondering if that would make the difference.
Well, it creates a completely different treatment. treatment. They were awarded a patent on it because it's so completely different. The two combined is so completely different than one or the other all by itself that they were awarded a patent. So I never had ketamine all by itself. So I can't speak from that front. I can only speak from the one that I had. Now,
and do you feel like you're in remission now?
I am, since April. I had a booster in May, right before I was getting married. I was going to elope to the Grand Canyon and get married, and I was moving to another state and buying a house all at the same time. So it was high stress time, and I was worried about having a flare while I was at the Grand Canyon getting married. So I had a booster on May 8th. Proactive. No, I had one here. Now, there's only one clinic in the world doing this treatment, and it's in Chicago. So I had a booster to be proactive. But other than that, I'm still doing good. Now, let's define remission before we go any further. Remission is not zero pain. Now remission was not a word that I ever used before I had this treatment because I didn't think it existed. I thought it was a word that should only be used with cancer. I didn't think it was a word that should be used with this disease. And I use it now, obviously, because the doctor helped me define what it was. And so what is it? Remission is a state of lessened pain, lessened symptoms, but manageable. Manageable. So I'm not getting treatment right now. I still have pain, but my pain is not 7, 8, 9. I've never used the number 10 before, ever, because I always think that there has to be something worse. So 9 is as high as I've ever gone.
If you get an injury, and it puts you, and have you had an injury, and does it put you in a higher state of pain?
The only injury I've had other than like stubbing a toe or having a hangnail is my cat got scared one day, like a motorcycle was outside. My cat got scared and he scratched me on that limb.
Wow.
And I took a picture of it and I put it on Facebook because I wanted to see what would happen. I thought my whole arm would turn purple. Well, it healed and it didn't flare. And I was astonished.
Because I asked that because I'm going on 4 years, but I had an injury in March where it started in my feet because I broke blisters on my feet. And the thing of it is, for some reason, this particular injury put me to a whole higher pain level. I cannot live without pain pills now. And I don't know, at this point, if it'll ever, go back down. It's been since March. And also something new, and I've had this, like I say, going on 4 years. I, for the first time about 3 weeks ago, developed a rash, an itchy rash. Never had that, and in fact, I didn't know that you got a rash with RSD.
Oh, yeah. The RSD does affect the skin as well.
Yes.
Skin, bone, tissue, muscle, and what am I forgetting? Nerve. They're most important, I guess. Yeah, skin.
Yes.
A lot of people get skin conditions with RSD.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
But you don't know if it was related, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, it can affect anything you want, including the skin.
But and I don't know whether once you develop something new, then it never goes away, or whether it's it can come and go.
Rashes.
It can come and go.
Yes.
It can come and go, and it can get better for periods of time, and then get worse again. It can do whatever it wants.
It's like it has a mind of its own. That's what people say about RSD. It's almost like it has its own will or something.
Well, I know everybody's different with this, and the other thing that had happened with me, I was like you, Gracie. kept saying, gee, I am so surprised because I never went into a deep depression and until I did this last injury. And for some reason, that injury, and because of the increased pain and burning, and now I feel like I have full body, but I went to the doctor and I said, I'm wondering if I haven't developed fibromyalgia on my upper, my neck and my shoulders. And of course, he doesn't. My doctor is just a primary care doctor, and he really doesn't know. And he offered to give me a shot, he said, but he's done this too for my RSD. And so I got where I just don't let anybody just give me anything anymore.
Right.
And
it's best to be your own advocate.
But I am battling depression now for the first time, and I don't like that.
Right. I know that.
It's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
There's nothing to be ashamed of.
There's, I know that we're at the half point mark, a little over. And Gracie, I have some questions that I'd like to ask you.
Okay.
Some of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, what have you learned that helps you cope with your illness?
Well, not to isolate is the absolute biggest thing of all. Do not isolate. Reach out to others that have the exact same ailment that you have, because they are suffering the same condition that you are, and they're on the exact same journey that you have. We all may have a little bit different story, but we're all on the same journey. So do not isolate. Have the courage to post those questions, because when you find the courage inside of yourself and you post that question, for instance, the rash question that someone just had, you find the courage to post that question, you're going to find that 25 other people are going through the same thing and have the same question, but didn't have the courage to post it. And all of a sudden you realize, hey, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. That is part of this condition. That feels so good and so validating to know that, oh gosh, I'm okay.
I
People are thinking the same thing.
All right.
I posted that question on Here to Help RSD, but I didn't get a lot of response. And sometimes, here's my experience, I feel like everybody else seems so brave, and I come out with these questions, and then I really didn't get a lot of response.
That's a really big group. That's a really big group. And it's easy to get lost in a big group.
Yeah.
Maybe a smaller group.
Let's talk about reinventing yourself, Gracie. What was that like for you, and how did you go about that?
That's another great question. So I think it's really easy to get lost or tied up in what we do, what you do for a career, and then all of a sudden you have this injury or this condition, and you lost what you do. And for me, I felt like, who am I now if I can't go to work and I can't bring home a paycheck? I went to school for this and I can't do my job anymore. What good am I? So we have to learn to separate who we are from what we do. And then comes the reinventing, as Maria said. How are we going to find purpose now and worth when we can't go to work? You still have value. You still have value, and you still have contributions to give. We are, I was going to say women, but not all of the listeners are women. We are mothers and fathers and husbands and wives
and caregivers,
and sisters and brothers and children and gifts and neighbors. We have a lot of qualities, so you need to use those qualities. Some are artists, some are musicians. Use those qualities and find a way to apply that. You don't need to use your career as your worth. So how did I use that? I used that through social media to become an advocate. I found that I had a voice, I had a strength in communicating with people and leading people towards the research, towards the treatment, and finding hope with this disease towards a better day.
When you were in your most pain, when you can think back about when the pain was so intense, what types of techniques did you use to cope with the illness, with RSD?
A hot bath and Epsom salt. Every time. Every
Great.
single time.
Yeah,
That's my number one choice.
You have to really be careful
And
too,
number
right,
two?
Gracie, with the Epsom salt, because sometimes it could lower your blood pressure coming out of the water. Is that correct?
You know, I've never heard that before. And I have incredibly low blood pressure. I'm the girl that goes to the doctor and they say, "Are you okay? Are you alive?" So I've never heard that before, and I've never had that problem.
Okay.
I've sat in that water and run more water and more water and more water every time it gets cold, and just kept dumping more Epsom salt in there. I've never had that problem.
I did say lower your blood pressure, right? Yeah.
Do you just have it in your arms and wrists?
Mine only presents itself in my right arm from the shoulder down. Yes.
What?
So
Yeah.
you basically lost your, usually, I'm saying usually, not always, people with RSD have what's called hyperalgesia, and they're extremely sensitive to touch or temperature changes. So some people can't even, for example, have something as light as a bed sheet laying on their feet.
Right.
Because it causes such intense pain.
Right.
So I'm just surprised that, I'm sure you didn't have the water pounding on your wrists and whatever, wherever
No, I use
your
a bath,
RSD
not a
is.
shower.
Yeah.
No, I use a bath, not a shower.
I understood that, but still, there's a lot of people that can't really even tolerate, is the word I'm going to use,
Right.
many different kinds of textures or feelings or pressures.
I'm very hypersensitive.
But I'm glad that it worked for you. I'm actually going to try that, I think.
The wind
Because I don't
even
think
bothers
I
me.
have
For me, the hotter the water, the better. Some people have to
yeah.
have it lukewarm because they can't stand the heat. For me,
I
though,
can't take
the hotter the water, the better. I could put it so hot that you would think that my skin would just melt off. But for me, the hotter the better. And as far as the allodynia, I have a compression sleeve with a gauntlet, a hand gauntlet on the end, and I would wear that over my arm 24 hours a day, except for in the bath. I even slept with it on, and that would keep all my clothes from touching me, and it would keep the wind from touching me. It kept the world from touching me.
Yeah,
And I would have bathed with it on if I could.
That's how, and they look at you like you're crazy. Like the wind, a breeze could hurt you,
Yep.
blowing on you.
Yeah, everything hurt me.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I have to ask the nurse,
to me,
please slow
but-
down from walking around me, because the wind from somebody walking around me burns my face, my arms, and my legs, or whatever's open.
Yeah.
And so I can't handle that, even vibrations. Gracie, what have you found, if anything, positive about CRPS for yourself?
I've gotten a lot of positive things out of CRPS. My life is better now than it ever was. I love the community. There are definitely some negative things too, but I love the community. I love networking with people all over the world. The rewards are great. A lot of people think that I'm crazy when I say those things. Of course, the pain is horrendous, but giving to the community and helping people helps me. That's how I cope. That's how I survive, and that's how I get by.
You said that you could find
me. So
a couple negative things. What would that be?
Funny that, because
I can't hear anybody. You're all talking at once. What did you say?
I have a few
not
more
for one.
questions here that I needed to ask you. You said that the CRPS, also you could think of a couple negative ones, and I just was wondering what those are. I still have a couple more questions though for you. So if you wanted
So
to
the
say
negative?
something.
The negative?
Yes.
Other than the pain, obviously, and being sick when a storm comes through, and the fact that an invisible illness is the hardest thing for anybody to understand, the real negative in my position is when you put yourself in the limelight, when you use your body as the chopping block, and you try all these treatments as a guinea pig to show everybody how this works and how this doesn't work. I mean, even my brain scans are available on the internet. You become a moving target. You become a moving target. And there are people that really appreciate your experiences, and they really genuinely appreciate hearing about these things and hearing the patient experience. And then there are people that are just rotten and nasty. So they are, one in a million, but they're rotten enough that sometimes it's not a pleasant thing.
That's right.
So,
but
yes,
I really
there are the
appreciate
negatives,
what
but
you do.
there are millions that are so thankful and so wonderful that it makes it worthwhile.
It sure does. We already talked about the tools, Annette. I wanted to ask you, Annette, try to get a couple of these questions out of the way so that way everybody else can finish their questions to you. So, if you had to give advice to someone that was new, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to never take no for an answer. I would tell them to never give up. I would tell them to do their own research and be their own advocate. I would tell them if they have a doctor that tells them this is your only option, to walk out of the office. I tell them to join a support community. I tell them to network with other people that have the same disease or condition or ailment, because you can expect your family to hear you and show you compassion, but you can't expect them to understand you. Only the people that have the same disease can understand you.
You're fading away.
True.
You're fading away. I wanted to also ask, where would you find some good advice for your illness? If you were searching, where would you find it, or tell others to go to find the information that they might be looking for to help them?
About RSD?
That's right.
Well, the very first site I ever found was RSD Doesn't Own Me. It's a great resource. I would go to The Power of Pain. I would go to RSDSA. Those are the top 3 resources.
Okay.
They're all phenomenal. Oh, of course, they could go to my site, too. But my site pales in comparison to those 3, to be honest with you.
Well, that was my next question.
I found out once I was diagnosed, I was bought the books Barbie Engel wrote, RSD Doesn't Own Me. And I'd been to a couple of the Power of Pain
Actually, Barbie didn't write that. Barbie wrote Remission Possible.
Well, that's what I'm
is by
okay. I'm sorry, I just got mixed up. There was a couple books my daughter bought me right off, and she lives in Phoenix, and I live in Yuma, Arizona. And I have been to 2 of the Power of Pain conferences. And the first time I went to the first conference, because where I live, there is no support groups here. And the doctors don't know anything about RSD. And so I was kind of embarrassed to go because I look healthy. And my doctors have all, it took 6 doctors to even diagnose me. So because I don't look like now I do with the rest, but back then, no. I expected to go in and see people in wheelchairs and on walkers. And I walked in and I saw people that looked like me. And the only thing that I noticed as I watched a young girl, she couldn't get comfortable in her chair. She kept curling up, moving, curling her legs, and I recognized that because that's me. I have both my, I have pain in my feet, my legs, my back. I can't get comfortable even sitting. I sit with rice packs almost all day.
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest loss was the loss because I used to be a walker. I used to walk 2 to 3 miles a day, and so I think this is where it's coming in now. Finally, I have no way, no outlet for my frustration. I can't take off and walk and clear my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Have you tried aquatherapy?
Cognitive therapy,
Pool therapy, like aqua therapy.
That's right, pool therapy.
you know,
The
the
pool, so you're more buoyant.
2 years ago, the first year into this, I was able to swim, and I would swim every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then last summer, I didn't have a place to swim, and so this summer I went to swim, and it was so painful. I lasted about 5 minutes, and then the next day is when I noticed that I had the rash all over. Now I don't know whether that's
The
water. I don't know. I don't know whether
The pool that they use for therapy is very, very warm water. I know that I'm going to be starting it pretty soon myself, having to start it. But I noticed that this year also, hitting the water, I used to swim a lot. I'm a big swimmer. But when I hit the water this year, the cramps and so forth really did me in, hitting the water. The water really hurt me.
right.
They're saying that the water is much, much warmer in the pool because, they can control that. And that might be something that might work. I'm not sure for you.
Yeah. It's supposed to be more than 93 degrees.
How hot, warm? Gracie, how warm?
It's supposed to be more than 93 degrees.
93 degrees.
Yeah, it is. Supposed to be very warm for RSD. Yeah.
Gracie.
Well, where in Arizona, the pool is warm.
Right.
But I don't know. My RSD has advanced so much since 2013.
Maybe for
because
you
I was able to
blisters,
swim.
cool water might feel better if you have blisters and so forth. I would imagine the hot or warm water would be more irritating if you have blisters and a rash.
I don't have blisters. It's these red dots like measles.
Mine.
And it's itchy.
Yeah, I have
You don't have
rashes.
shingles. Do you have Is there any chance you could have shingles?
No, I don't have
No,
shingles.
that rash you're talking about, I have also. I have 2 different rashes, and the one rash is from the CRPS. It's red, itchy. It has like little white heads sometimes on it, but it always stays in a local area for me. The other rash that I have is when you touch me, the rash spreads, and that's from mast cell activation disorder. My body's letting off way too much histamine. So those are some of the things that you might want to look into. Also, the only thing that has helped me with my rash is that I do take hydroxyzine, and that helps to keep it under control. Everything else that I've used, creams and things, has not worked.
No, I tried essential oils because I heard that might help, and it made the itching worse.
Yes, we're getting it.
And I can't have and I don't know whether the chlorine in the water at the pool this time, because it had been a couple years, whether my body's changed now and the chlorine affected it. It was just such a surprise because 2 years before I was able to swim I would swim probably at least 45 minutes, and it felt good. And this time, like I said, I ended up in bed all the next day in terrible pain. And then I noticed that I had the rash. So I don't know. With RSD, you get to the point where you don't know what is from RSD and what is from something else.
Right, because stage 2 kidney disease for me also produces a rash. So sometimes it's hard to differentiate. Yes. Kidney disease does produce a rash. So, if it really gets real bad, because I know there was a time that mine was so bad that my whole body was out of control, and they had to stabilize it. But you might want to see maybe a dermatologist or a rheumatologist, and maybe they can help you. Gracie, one of the other questions I wanted to ask you, I know that you have a site, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about it, and if you have any other projects that you're working on or events, we'd like to hear about those, if you want to share.
Okay, well, we just completed the Midwest Pain Summit. I'm on the executive board for the Power of Pain. We just completed that, so we're underway in planning the next year's Midwest Power of Pain conference. That'll be next August.
Mm-hmm.
My site is ggpainadvocacy.com.
Mm-hmm.
The site has a lot of research under the research page. Has a lot of information about.
What is it? GD Pain Advocacy? Is it called GD Pain Advocacy?
GG, like Gracie Gean. ggpainadvocacy.com.
Okay.
You can find the link in this event page too. I'm sure Maria has it up. There's a lot of information on the different types of neuropathies under the research page. There's a lot of different research posted there. And then under the About Us, there's some info on me. And there's also all the interviews and videos that I have posted in the news link. Mm-hmm. The recording of this call will also be posted on there after Maria gets it all produced and ready to go on YouTube.
Thank you.
So besides planning for the conference that I have coming up, I'm working on creating an app. Mm-hmm. I'd like to have an app with all of my info that I have in my support groups and on my website organized into one handy spot. And people are always saying to me, hey, where's the dental protocol? Or where's the surgery protocol? Mm-hmm. Where's the ER protocol? Where do you have this stored? I can't find it. I can't remember where this was posted. So I'd like to have one app with all of that handy RSD info.
Yeah, you're talking about the protocols too. While you're talking about protocols, why don't you explain, if you can do it in a short period, some of the things that maybe for the doctor or dentist or whatever that that they should proceed with?
Well, for surgery, they should always have their anesthesia be ketamine. Always. Any surgery. Because ketamine makes the body forget trauma. Mm-hmm. Period. Whether it's a needle stick or they're cutting into your body, ketamine makes the body forget trauma. And whenever you have trauma,
interject on that. Versed is another amnesiac that also helps you forget the experience.
That is not what the doctors recommend for surgery protocol with RSD, though. It's well documented that they recommend ketamine.
Mm-hmm. I can't have ketamine anymore. Out there. I had a heart attack after I had my, 6th or 7th infusion. 3 weeks after the infusion, I had...
Okay, there may be exceptions to the rule here and there. I'm just
I know.
The protocol recommends.
I just thought everybody likes to hear different experiences. You said we're not all in the same box, and I don't know. That was scary for me. I just like to try to kind of always say that because I was suspicious about the ketamine, having the heart attack 3 weeks later. That's all. But yeah, there are other anesthesia medications for surgery aside from ketamine, though. So, there has to be.
I think the problem is for a lot of us, we don't have access to these places for treatment, and insurance won't cover it. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of hard to just try different treatments because, as I said, where we live, where I live, is nowhere close to where I could get like this ketamine radiomagnetic stimulation. I did go to Phoenix, which is 3.5 hours from here, and luckily my daughter lived there, and I was able to stay with her during that time between my hospital stays and my boosters and stuff. But it's not that easy when you have to go out of town, and the insurance companies don't want to cover any of this.
That's exactly it.
Okay, well, I'm not talking about treatments, though. We're just talking about surgeries. And if they administer it during a surgery as the anesthesia for your surgery, that will be part of your surgery charges, and it's covered.
Yeah, I understand that if I ever have to have surgery, I do understand that they say that there should be ketamine added to your anesthetic. too.
Okay.
I guess to keep it from setting, but
So what are some?
yeah, I think
What are
the
some?
problem lies in the
Okay.
availability for most of us to try these different treatments.
Right. And that's so true. We have 2 minutes left. Gracie, is there anything else you'd like to share with us with events or projects or something that you'd like to say to the people?
Well, the other thing I was talking about was the app. That I was just working on putting together a free app for everyone so that all this information can be in one spot in their phone. And I'm going to try and make it if I do the app, I'm trying to make the app, it would be a free app. Everybody could download it for free.
That would be
and
awesome.
I just wanted to gather all the information together from the site, from the support groups, because we all have all this information. We all have access to it already, but it's in so many different places that I think it would be nice to have it all in one spot, and it'd be a free download, so everyone can have it. That way, when you go to the doctor, you've already got your phone with you, in your purse, in your hand, or whatever. You could just click on the app and say, "There it is. This is what I wanted to ask you, or this is what I wanted to show you. Here's the document right here."
That is awesome.
So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Is I'm trying to put that together and make that happen.
That is
sounds great.
Yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. But it's a really big project. So I'm working really hard on trying to pull all that together.
Well, what I'd like to do is, Gracie, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I want to thank all of our guests for coming to the show and sharing and asking questions. And I think that what you do out there, again, is so wonderful, and helping other people in that and doing the research. We need people out there that will have that talent to do the research and reach out to others and be able to speak with them. And there's so many that can't do this, and it's reinventing the way yourself the way you did is so awesome. And I know that other people out there, they have their talents in that too, and we appreciate them, and those that are coming up that are in the process of reinventing themselves and finding the gold. In the lining of the rainbow, we're looking forward to that. And I just want to tell you again, all you guys, thank you so much for coming, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you
guys for joining us.
Yeah, and I want to thank all of you too. I enjoy just talking with other people that have the same condition.
Well, and if you'd like to do your own show in that, feel free. If you want to tell your story, PM me, and we can set you up, and we'd love to have you on telling your story. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and I hope that you have a great evening and pain-free, and be blessed. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.